Arsenal turn their attention back to the Premier League with a home game against West Ham, who are struggling in 19th position in the Premier League table. But underestimate this team at your peril. We have a horrible home record against West Ham, and we need to put that right during Saturday's game. This is the Arsenal vs West Ham match preview episode on Arsenal Unfiltered. Let's get started. Good morning, hello and welcome back to another episode of Arsenal Unfiltered, your 3 times a week dose of Arsenal coverage with me, your host Mark, wherever you are in the world. I hope you are well and looking forward to this weekend's game against West Ham. It's tomorrow, the game. I keep thinking we're playing on Sunday. We're not. We are playing tomorrow. A quick turnaround from our Wednesday game in the Champions League. And like I said in the beginning, we are playing West Ham, who we have a horrible record against at the Emirates Stadium. So we'll go through that in a little bit more detail very, very soon. I'm also going to be predicting the Arsenal lineup, which is always fun. This might be a bit of a shorter episode because I am on a little bit of a time crunch this weekend. Unfortunately, the game is not on TV in the UK, and I won't have an opportunity to stream it from elsewhere. Not that I would do that, of course, but I won't have an opportunity to do that this weekend, so there will be no instant reaction to the West Ham game. But if you want to hear my match review, where I've rewatched the game on Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon, please make sure you go and hit follow, and then you will make sure you get that episode straight into your podcast provider of choice, as well as everything that I'm going to do to keep you entertained over the international break. Have some fun ideas for that, and hopefully going to bring some good episodes together to keep you entertained while the football is not here. Can't believe there's another international break already. Okay, let's talk Arsenal West Ham then, and I want to start with West Ham because this team, on the surface, horrible form. Absolutely horrible form. They lost 3-0 to Sunderland, 5-1 to Chelsea, conceded 3 against Wolves in the Cup, which was a really, really bad game for them. You know, Wolves have been not good at all, and to go out to them in the Cup was quite bad. Conceded 3 against Tottenham, that can happen, and obviously they lost to Crystal Palace as well, another team who are playing very, very well, so that's understandable. Most recently they picked up a 1-1 draw against Everton with their only win this season in that very strange last 7 minutes against Nottingham Forest, where they picked up 3 goals in the last 7 minutes, like I say, to pick up their only win. 4 points out of the Cup. West Ham fans, I would imagine, are not feeling great right now. However, the reason I say underestimate them at your peril is threefold. One, new manager bounce. We've seen Nuno go from Nottingham Forest and land on his feet by picking up another Premier League job at West Ham. He has clearly done his bit at Wolves and Tottenham and now Forest to make sure he always kind of lands on his feet and gets a Premier League job. We always seem to get new manager bounce. Obviously, they've already played Everton and some things improved for them there. I think it was the first game all season when I was researching this morning that they'd out-XG'd their opponents and actually had plenty more shots and seemed a little bit more secure at the back. So that's certainly something to watch. The new manager bounce is a thing. I'm convinced of it. It just gives the players, it gives the fans that little bit of a boost. I'm glad we're at home because of the new manager bounce. It's often more powerful when the other team's at home. So that gives us a little bit of an advantage there and hopefully negates that. The other reason I would say write them off at your peril is because these guys have got some good players. I mean, Thomas Souček, I believe, is suspended for the game, but he's always a threat from set pieces. Then they have the likes of James Ward-Prowse, who can really deliver a ball, Jared Bowen, Lucas Paqueta. These are guys who I'm amazed I'm not amazed for Lucas Paqueta. Obviously, his troubles with the FA have been well documented, and the FA have done him a little bit dirty there. I'm amazed Jared Bowen hasn't gone on to a bigger and better club, but they have talent. They've got players in there who can cause any team problems. I mean, Jared Bowen is a player who, like I say, has consistently scored in the Premier League, has been a consistent threat across the Premier League, and I really it amazes me that he hasn't gone on to do more. I'm just going to quickly read you out his goal tallies in all competitions. For West Ham: 24-25, 14 goals, 8 assists; 23-24, 20 goals, 10 assists; 22-23, 13 goals, 7 assists; and even more impressively, 21-22, 18 goals, 11 assists. This guy's been scoring, and he's been making goals. I really don't understand it, but he's basically the main danger man along with Paqueta, so we need to watch out for them. And the other reason, I mentioned it at the start, we have a horrible home record against West Ham recently, and it's not just bad results, it's bad timing of results. So in our last 4 games, the 2 away at West Ham, we've won 6-0 and 5-2. Very memorable games. The 6-0, we were on that wonderful run where we were putting everyone away and just dismantling them. And then that 5-2, it wasn't quite the run that we saw previously, but do you remember we were 4-0 up inside sort of 30 minutes? It was a wild first half of football. I don't believe a goal was scored in the second half of that game. Absolutely crazy. The amazing free kick from Emerson, I believe it was, and then the penalty. It was carnage. They're the away games, very comfortable. But at home, last season, we lost 1-0 at home to West Ham, and it was just a rubbish game, wasn't it? I remember it very, very clearly. We had the red card from Lewis Skelly, which, that was quite late in the game, so it actually didn't affect us all that much. But we just struggled to create anything at all, really. We had 20 shots for 1.2 xG. It was one of those games where we saw a lot last season that we created-ish, but it was a bit impotent and a bit, passive, I guess is probably the best way of putting it. And like I say, Jared Bowen was the thorn in our side in that occasion as well. And of course, in 2023, a result that ended up being disastrous for us. We lost 2-0 at the Emirates. And this one was, again, one of those games where we just could not get the ball in the back of net. Slightly different in the fact that we created loads of chances in this game. 30 shots and 2.7 xG to Arsenal in this game, and I remember it like it was yesterday. We just could not get the ball in the back of the net, and it ended up being very costly in the Premier League title run. Those points would have seen us win the league, so very disappointing, and it was our little Christmas blip in that season, which otherwise would have been a really, basically perfect season. So look, we can't underestimate them. We absolutely can't, and I think I've shown already twice this year where in the Champions League, to be fair, but I've underestimated Athletic, and then I thought I was, perhaps being a little bit kinder to Olympiacos, but again, I was still really, really impressed with them, and they exceeded my expectations. Teams are good. We are going to play good teams, and even if you're 19th in the Premier League, every team has a player that can hurt you, I believe, in this league. It's Jared Bowen for West Ham. But let's talk Arsenal and about what we're going to do. I fully expect to see us go back to a very, very strong lineup for this game. We have obviously rotated in the Olympiacos game, and we've seen a lot of rotation in recent weeks. We didn't see too much of it against Newcastle, but tons against Port Vale and a little bit against Athletic Club. So quite a bit of rest for players over the recent weeks. I do think we will see a strong lineup. The question for me is certain individual players and individual positions. So let's talk about players. Are they going to be fit enough to start? Gabriel obviously went off with some sort of injury against Olympiacos. Pardon me. You guys might know more about that than me right now because I'm recording on Friday morning. I don't believe Mikel Arteta has yet done his press conference. I'm just going to double check that and make sure I'm not making myself look silly. Yeah, no, I'm not seeing anything on there. So he's not done his press conference. I'm sure there will be some news about Gabriel and there will be some questions about that, but that's a question on my mind. Will he be fit enough to start? I certainly hope he will be because West Ham concede a lot of chances from set pieces, and if Gabriel is fit enough, I don't think we need him defensively. Perhaps, Mosquera can probably deal with the threat that's posed. However, I do think he will be very valuable at set pieces. So will it be Gabriel alongside Saliba or Mosquera step in there? Will it be a case of we're just not going to risk it for a team in 19th in the Premier League? We can definitely take Gabby out and give him a break. He's been needing a break, that's for certain. He's played basically every game so far this year, so to get him a break would be really, really fantastic. Another player, is he fit enough to start? is Martin Ødegaard. Now, he started against Olympiacos, of course, in that Real Sociedad-esque midfield, alongside Mikel Merino and Martin Zubimendi, and we have all spent the last 24, 48 hours enjoying content all about Martin Ødegaard and how fantastic he was. And if you want to hear my take on that, make sure you go back and listen to the match review episode of the Olympiacos game. Will he be deemed fit enough to start for a Premier League game? I'm presuming he will. If he can start in the Champions League, hopefully he can start in the Premier League. And then what does that mean for the left wing? Because we've seen Trossard play there a fair bit recently. He's kind of had that position as his. He had it against Olympiacos. He had it against Newcastle. He even had it against Manchester City, which was a call that a lot of people questioned. So Trossard has been favoured on the left wing, but with Ødegaard fit enough, that might push Eze out there. And of course, then we have the likes of Bukayo Saka on the right wing. Will he be fit enough to start? He didn't start the Olympiacos game. A bit of rotation there, which is obviously great. And we have seen him heavily managed, I would say, in the early part of this season. Partly because of the injury that he picked up, but then partly, because we don't need to use him every single game, which is great. We don't need to roll him out. He started against Newcastle, of course, but came off after 70 minutes, presumably due to those fitness levels. So there's some questions out there, isn't there? Gabriel, will he play? Will Ødegaard be fit enough to start? Will that mean Trossard or Eze on the left? And will we see Saka from the start? I'm predicting we probably will see the majority of those players. Gabriel went off against Olympiacos, but I think the quote at the end of the game from Arteta was he felt a kick, or he took a kick, in the first half, and when he went down in the second half, they just didn't want to risk him. I actually thought at the time it was when Raya collapsed on him. Raya's a big heavy guy and slammed Gabriel into the floor, collecting one of the crosses against Olympiacos. I thought it might have been that. It wasn't in the end. It was a kick earlier in the game. So I think we're pretty likely to see him, especially seeing our next game is on the 18th of October. I'm presuming Gabby has been called up for the Brazil squad. I'm almost certain he has, actually. But, sometimes there's a bit of rotation in there, so hopefully he will get at least a little bit of a rest over the international break. Let's predict it then. So I'm going to go Raya in goal, Timber right back, Saliba, Gabriel, Calafiori. I think Miles Lewis-Skelly did well against Olympiacos, as did Ben White, but Timber and Calafiori certainly hold those shirts right now, and I think if you've got Eze playing off the left, you don't necessarily need Miles Lewis-Skelly coming inside quite so much, because Eze's going to come inside a little bit, and that's going to keep Rice further back. So we need Calafiori bombing up down the side of Eze. So that's kind of my thought process there. I think Rice and Zubimendi will continue in the middle as they have. Saka will start. Whether he'll get 90 minutes, I don't know. Ødegaard as well, with Eze on the left, and Gyokeres up front. Let's quickly talk Victor Gyokeres before we wrap it up, because I don't have a ton of time this morning, unfortunately. But Victor Gyokeres had a great game against Olympiacos. I think he got through the difficult first 6 games, managed to pick up 3 goals, and I certainly felt, okay, that's good. I'm fine with that. We didn't buy Victor Gyokeres to score in the big games, and I'm convinced if Havertz had been fit, he'd have played against Manchester City and Liverpool. So, I don't think we brought Victor Gyokeres for that kind of game. We did buy him for the kind of game we have coming up, and the Olympiacos game. I thought Olympiacos, he was lucky that his first attempt didn't go in, and Martinelli obviously tucked it home eventually. So he was unlucky not to get his 4th Arsenal goal at that point. But, against Newcastle and against Olympiacos, I have this feeling that I'm super impressed with how he's adapted into the team and is building it with the team and contributing to build-up play. Super impressed by that. I guess I'm not 100% impressed by his finishing yet. Sorry. And that is, of course, the opposite of what we were expecting to get with Victor Gyokeres. We were expecting to get this elite finisher who, when he was put in behind, that's it, curtains for the opposition team. But at the moment, there was definitely a chance on the right-hand side against Newcastle, where I think he took too many touches and his touches weren't high enough quality. And on the left-hand side against Olympiacos, where he kind of pulled it too far wide with the defender chasing him down, and it allowed the defender to get back and force his shot to be a little bit wayward. So, look, I think he just needs to improve on that, and this is a good opportunity against a West Ham team who are not the best defensively. If you ask me, I don't think they have anyone in their back line who I'm like, yeah, that's a player who, could go on and, well, not go on, but could play for another team, a bigger team perhaps. I don't really think there's anyone who fills me with any kind of, oh wow, I guess some people might argue Aaron Wan-Bissaka, but he's a right back, so not really going to trouble Victor Gyokeres. I think he should get the better of players like Max Kilman, Mavropanos, who obviously used to be with us, to Debo and Julio. I think he should be fine getting the better of those guys. So if Ødegaard plays like he played the other night, if Eze can get him in as well, I think Victor Gyokeres should be looking to get a goal against West Ham and start picking up goals in our upcoming fixtures. I'll read the run again to you. It's the easiest run of any Premier League team over the next 5 games, according to Opta. So really, really important that we take maximum points and perhaps that Victor Gyokeres gets into a real good flow. We're at home to West Ham, away to Fulham, at home to Crystal Palace, away at Burnley, and then it's away at Sunderland as well. So it's a really, really imperative run for both Arsenal and Victor Gyokeres to start picking up goals. Look, like I say, if Ødegaard puts him in behind, I think I'm going to start expecting him to score some of these chances. So hopefully Victor Gyokeres doesn't get off the mark, because obviously he's already scored, but gets himself set up for a run of scoring goals in the Premier League during this game. So to sum up, West Ham, they're a team we should be beating, but they have threat. Jarrod Bowen is a threat, and we need to put to bed this terrible home run we have against them. So fingers crossed we can do that on Saturday afternoon. I really do think we will go strong in this game. I think Ødegaard, Eze, Gabriel will all play. I think Saka will play the majority of the game. And Victor Gyokeres, I think it is time for him to start scoring, start putting away some of these chances that we're making for him. And hopefully we get a really, really good positive display. I have 3 Arsenal defenders in my FPL team, so I am desperate for a clean sheet as well. I've kind of rolled the dice on that. Maybe I should have brought Saka in. I have Foden. He was looking good a couple of weeks ago. Maybe I should have brought Saka in. I don't know if I'm going to live to regret that, but we will see. We will see. It's Timber, Gabriel and David Raya. So if there's a goal for Timber or Gabriel, that wouldn't go amiss either. I am going to leave it there now, guys. Like I said, if you want to hear my match review episode, make sure you hit follow wherever you get your podcasts from, and I will keep bringing podcasts out over the international break. Sometimes it's a little bit trickier over the international break, but I will endeavour to keep you entertained and keep you full of Arsenal coverage, I guess, is probably the best way of putting it. But for now, all that's left to say is thank you so much for following, thank you for listening, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.